Volkswagen's most significant global EV is this one, the mid-sized ID.4 crossover, here usefully improved. An upgraded motor has brought significant increases in both pulling power and driving range, while inside the cabin's more media savvy and user-friendly than it was in this car's original form. As before, this contender's practical, decent to drive and reasonable value, and there's the option of all-wheel drive if you want it. Here we're going to try and tell you everything that you really need to know about this car in a way that you'll find nowhere else. The ID.4 is a mid-sized EV that's hugely important to Volkswagen and was significantly updated 3 years into its life to create the car that we're going to look at here. The ID.4 was Volkswagen's first fully global EV, launched in late 2020 and tasked with accounting for a third of all the brand's EV sales around the world. It's that important. Built not only in Germany at VW's Zwickau plant, but also by factories in China and the US. Under the skin and dimensionally, the ID.4 is much the same as its cousin, the Skoda Enyaq, and like that car, uses an extended version of the predominantly rear-driven MEB platform that we first saw on the smaller ID.3. Although, hasn't really gone to plan for Volkswagen with this car. From launch, its fortunes were hit by pandemic-related shutdowns and lockdowns. Then production suffered due to the global semiconductor shortage and the Russian invasion of Ukraine. As well as all of that, there were criticisms of the original model's performance, driving range and cabin quality, all of which made the introduction of the updated model launched in late 2023, that's the car that we look at here, particularly significant. We've waited a bit to test this updated model. At the time of filming, it's early 2026, allowing the lineup to settle down a bit and to be able to give you a clearer idea of the value proposition here, with all available government incentives taken into account. You can find out more about this kind of car by downloading the Car and Driving app. And if your interest is specifically in this ID.4, you'll need to stay with us for our unique review, the Car and Driving road test. There's an entry-level 52 kilowatt-hour ID.4 model available with the brand's pure 170 PS motor, which goes up to 224 miles between charges. The bigger battery 77 kilowatt-hour variants come with the major change introduced as part of this car's mid-term update, Volkswagen's much improved APP 550 Pro Performance electric motor. First seen on the ID.7, this delivers 286 PS and puts out a massive 75% more torque than the original model's motor, up from 310 to 545 Newton meters. There's a dual motor AWD 4Motion powertrain available with that larger battery too, which is the combination that we've chosen to try here. This might avert the need to stretch to the top sporty ID.4 GTX 4Motion flagship derivative, which now puts out 340 PS, up from 299 PS before, now enough to get you to 62 miles an hour in 5.4 seconds. Despite the APP 550 motor's extra torque, Volkswagen's managed to make the upgraded 286 PS power plant more efficient in this updated model. The rear-driven ID.4 77 kilowatt-hour variant is now supposed to make it up to 351 miles between charges, or 325 miles in 4Motion form, and 321 miles in GTX guise. The battery is a reworked version of the 77 kilowatt-hour unit that featured at this ID.4's original launch for the 2021 model year and has gained a new charging management system. The brand claims that the steering now has greater feedback than before too. Otherwise, the whole ID.4 experience should be familiar if you've tried one previously. If you haven't, there's a bit to adapt to if this is your first experience of EV motoring. No gear stick, no handbrake, no ignition key, and just the sound of silence as the fixed ratio transmission blends an almost endless wave of torque into meaningful and surprisingly rapid forward progress. Like Volkswagen's original post-war Beetle, base versions of this car are rear-driven, and when you drive such an ID.4 in town, you quickly realise the real advantages of placing the powertrain the electric motor and its associated single-speed auto gearbox on the back axle, thereby freeing up the front wheels for steering duties. The result is a London taxi-like 10.2 metre turning circle. Beyond the city limits, that drive format allows for a near-perfect 50-50 weight distribution, which, together with the low centre of gravity provided by the central battery pack placement, helps disguise the portly weight this SUV must carry around. Traction through the turns is excellent, and body roll is checked by firm damping cleverly engineered for suppleness over poor surfaces, all of which ought to provide the recipe for a decently sporting EV, and in some ways it does. There are 4 drive settings common across the model lineup: comfort, sport and individual. Plus you get an eco setting that, to maximise range, you'll need to frequently use in combination with the available B regenerative braking function, which slows the car significantly when you come off the accelerator. The GTX model has an extra traction mode too. Now, no significant exterior visual changes were made to this ID.4 as part of this midterm update. As before, it shares many styling cues with its ID.3 hatch stablemate, but it's a slightly bigger thing. 4,584mm long, 1,852mm wide and 1,612mm tall. Now, to give you some perspective, that makes it a little longer and wider than Volkswagen's more conventional Tiguan mid-sized SUV. Wheel sizes vary between 18 and 20 inches, so we've got 19-inch rims here. All the key drive stuff sits over the rear axle, principally the single-speed gearbox and the permanent magnet synchronous electric motor that's been mated to it, both very efficiently packaged. All of this powered by a high-voltage battery that's been efficiently arranged in the underbody to save space. Which leaves nothing to sit here at the front end, but a few auxiliary units like the air conditioning compressor and, of course, the steering rack. So, just as with the original rear-engine Beetle, there's no need for a grille to embellish this flat front end, which sees airflow through this hexagon-trimmed wide inlet lower down. As usual with modern Volkswagens, either side of the central bonnet badge, there's an illuminated grille strip flowing into the full LED headlamps. At the rear, the LED tail lamp clusters get 3D animation with light-emitting diodes featuring fibre optic cable elements lighting in an unusually rich red. The big difference is with this updated model line side. Whereas part of this update, the original model's 10-inch central screen was replaced by this much improved 12.9-inch infotainment display with simpler menus, a more intuitive control structure and a more responsive IDA voice assistant. This offers a wider range of functions, including cloud-based weather information and the status of sporting events or stock market prices. Owners of the original version will be pleased to find that cabin temperature control sliders are now illuminated. You still have to put up with a very small 5.3-inch instrument display, but you won't be looking at that very much if your ID.4 has been fitted with the now improved optional augmented reality head-up display system. The wheel's still embellished with fiddly, touch-sensitive buttons, which everybody seems to hate. It takes time to realise that you have to swipe rather than press them, which isn't a natural action when you're driving. And the left one inaccurately advertises drive mode functionality, delivering instead cruise control and speed limiter functions. Now, once you're settled behind the wheel, the wide, narrow ID light strip that's fitted to plusher models like this one will indicate the car's readiness to drive. It's difficult to see in daylight, but will be a real talking point at night as it colourfully indicates key driving functions right at the bottom of the windscreen here. Now, you sit quite high on top of all those batteries, and as usual with the brand's ID models, a minimalised, open plan but rather clinical feel persists, which Volkswagen has tried unsuccessfully to lift by imprinting play and pause symbols on the 2 footwell pedals. There are lovely touches like dimmable overhead lights and a standard multicolour ambient lighting system that bathes the cabin in your choice from 30 soothing shades after dark. Plus there's standard heat on the steering wheel and front seats, those chairs offering reasonable comfort and including an adjustable armrest, though it's a bit disappointing that they do without lumbar support with the entry-level variant. There are still a few cabin issues that smack a little of cost cutting. Now, was it really necessary to do without individual driver's door switches for the rear windows? Presumably this touch panel by your right knee's cheaper to make than one with individual buttons too. These ones don't tend to respond with much conviction, which means that sometimes you find yourself turning things back on and off again because you've pressed the button twice, thinking that it hadn't registered the first time. On top of that, some of the centre screen functions lag and you can only use half the interior of the glove box. On that subject though, cabin storage space, there are plenty of cabin stowage areas. Overall build quality is generally good, but cheaper plastics still betray the cost cutting necessary to undergird all of that sophisticated EV technology. Time to take a look out back. Where, as before, there's comfortable space for a couple of adults, it'd be a squash for 3, although the flat floor means you can take a middle-seated occupant quite easily. The bench doesn't either slide or recline as it would in a Tiguan, and the headrests are of the sort that dig uncomfortably into your neck until you raise them, but otherwise it's all good with an airy feel aided by this panoramic glass roof if you've got it, and rear quarter lights which also aim to improve the airy, spacious feel back here. There are twin USB-C ports, upper and lower front seat back pockets, the usual armrest with twin cup holders, and decently sized door bins, so they're not flock lines, so small items will slide about in them. Let's finish with a look at the boot. You are, by the way, going to have to use this boot for cargo storage. Unlike some other EVs, there's no extra luggage room in the nose of the car, which, as we said earlier, is taken up by the power electrics for the driveline. Once the wide hatch has risen, the space provided at 543 litres is 158 litres larger than that of an ID.3. That's 109 litres smaller than the trunk of a Tiguan, much of that shortfall due to the presence of an electric motor down under the floor here, which eliminates the possibility of having a really big underfloor central storage area, though you do get a narrow channel. The space is extendable to 1,575 litres with the rear seat folded. A ton of weight can be towed too if you specify the optional tow bar that we have fitted here. There's a ski hatch for longer items. Volkswagen has now introduced pricing parity between this ID.4 and its SUV coupe showroom stablemate, the ID.5. By the time of this test in early 2026, the 3 most affordable versions of this ID.4 were qualifying for the government's £1,500 electric car grant, which makes this car look usefully more affordable. With that grant deduction in place, the ID.4 range kicks off with a base pure essential 52 kilowatt-hour model that uses a 170 PS motor and costs around £37,000. With grant deducted, with around £2,500 more for a plusher match spec version. Otherwise, your ID.4 will have a 77 kilowatt-hour battery and the VW Group's latest 286 PS APP 550 motor, which is the combination that we've been trying here. Now, if you want this bigger battery powertrain with the government grant, you'll have to stick with base Pro Essential trim, which with grant deduction costs around £37,000. Now, all that's very decent value by the standards of the overcrowded mid-sized EV segment. To have your ID.4 77 kilowatt-hour model with plusher Pro Match trim takes this VW over the government grant's £42,000 cost cap, which is why that plusher variant looks so much more pricey, up at nearly £45,000. The dual motor 77 kilowatt-hour Pro 4Motion models start from around £46,000, and you'll need to add a further £2,000 to that figure if you want the smart Black Edition trim level that we're trying here. At the very top of the lineup is the sporty GTX 4Motion variant, which costs from just over £52,000. Unfortunately, the GTX is the only variant that can be had with Volkswagen's now improved DCC adaptive damping system. All ID.4s come with full LED headlamps, LED tail lights, rain sensing wipers, all-round parking sensors, heated windscreen washer jets and an alarm. Inside, most versions feature the ID Light, a wide, narrow strip under the windscreen that assists the driver by flashing or moving in different colours to draw attention to various functions. There's also an Air Care Climatronic 2-zone air conditioning system and a leather-trimmed and heated multifunction steering wheel. The upholstery, well, that's a smart Alcantara-like art velours microfleece, and the front seats are heated, plus there's an auto-dimming rear-view mirror, along with an electric auxiliary air heater, a wireless smartphone charger, and an ambient lighting setup with up to 30 colour options. Key extras fitted here include a tow bar and Volkswagen's Assistance Package Plus, which gives you the brand's useful semi-autonomous travel assist system. Extras, which shouldn't be extras, include a 3-pin mains charge cable and, for a huge £1,150 more, the heat pump that you'll need to preserve driving range in colder months. At least there's plenty of standard safety kit. The front assist forward collision warning autonomous braking system with city emergency braking. There's also lane assist lane keeping, high beam assist, a driver alert feature, swerve support, radar sensor controlled distance warning that stops you from getting too close to the vehicle in front, and an oncoming vehicle braking when turning feature. That's there to stop you from turning into a junction into the path of another vehicle. Plus all the usual airbags, including a centre airbag which can prevent the driver and front passenger from colliding with each other in an accident. As we said in our driving section, driving range with this improved ID.4 has increased significantly to as much as 351 miles thanks to the new APP 550 motor. To achieve the quoted range figure, you'll need to frequently use the provided Eco drive mode setting, ideally in combination with the available B regenerative braking function, which slows the car significantly when you come off the accelerator. The other significant change made as part of this update was an increase in charging speed to 175 kilowatts on DC charging, though the base 52 kilowatt hour 170 PS model can still only charge at just 145 kilowatts. Whatever ID.4 model you select, your charging regime should be quite straightforward. There's a WeCharge app that helps you find and use over 150,000 public charge points. At a DC 100 kilowatt charge point, it'll take no more than 25 to 28 minutes to recharge your ID.4 from 10 to 80% and give you enough direct current to cover the next 137 miles. If you're AC charging from home, then for a full charge with the smaller 52 kilowatt hour battery model, you'll need 7 hours 30 minutes, or 5 hours 30 minutes with an 11 kilowatt three-phase supply. With this 77 kilowatt hour battery, you'll need 12 hours 40 minutes with a 7.4 kilowatt wall box, or 8 hours with an 11 kilowatt three-phase supply. As always with any EV, you'll also make savings in benefit in kind payments rated at 4% from April 2026. There's a fixed servicing schedule with a basic inspection after 2 years, unlimited mileage, and subsequent services every year or 20,000 miles. There's the usual unremarkable 3-year 60,000 mile Volkswagen warranty, the third year operated by the retailer. And as usual with an EV, the battery pack is warranted to have at least 70% of its usable capacity after 8 years or 100,000 miles. When we first tested this ID.4 in its original form, we had a few reservations. The driving range and DC charge figures weren't particularly eye-catching. The cabin infotainment system felt clunky and the cabin wasn't very premium. But quite a lot's changed with this updated version. Enough, we'd say, to merit your giving this car a second look if you've considered and rejected it in the past. This improved version goes further on each quicker charge and has been significantly improved inside, especially in terms of its central screen. Plus, in its mainstream forms, it's now much better value compared to its competitors, particularly once you factor in the now available government grants offered on cheaper variants. Arguably, there are still more interesting choices and visually arresting selections you could make in the mid-sized EV crossover class. But the ID.4 is now one of the most sensible contenders in its category, which makes it difficult to ignore.